Alrighty, a very, very happy Monday and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is March 16th of 2026. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. I hope everyone had themselves a wonderful weekend. I know I did. Went out to my daughter's basketball game Saturday morning. Went out. I gotta find the place. Let me find the place here. Where did we go? It was a nice place out in Independence called Cruitt's Creek Kitchen and Bar. Went out there on Saturday with a couple of friends and took the family out there, and a really good, affordable place for just comfort food, right? Your burgers, your chicken, your fish. They even had pasta. My oldest one loves pasta. And, that's one thing, and I'm not trying to bash my, talk frown upon my wife, but she's a very picky eater, I'll tell you that. And she, it's hard to find new places to eat because that's how picky she is. And if she doesn't like it, she's not gonna get it. And I'm not gonna go waste 15, $20 on a meal that she's not gonna go touch. And so like her common food groups that she'll eat is, she loves not Sky, like Gold Star. She loves Ford's Garage. She loves barley corn. And she'll eat McDonald's. She'll eat Wendy's, White Castle, Bob Evans. Um, she loves Frisch's. That's pretty much it, right? So our we're trying to expand, get her outside her comfort zone, and a friend of ours mentioned this new place, Cruitt's Kitchen and Bar, out in Independence, and we went out there, and there were some chicken tenders, there's grilled cheese, there's mac and cheese. So we were able to try a couple different things. I had like a Swiss, oh not yeah, mushroom Swiss burger that had like a gravy uh, dressing on it. Enjoyed that. I had deep fried mushrooms. So and this has been quite some time since I've had deep fried mushrooms from a place, and I love deep fried mushrooms. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm just crazy that way, but I ordered the deep fried mushrooms, and they were like the portobello whole size mushrooms, and I'm used to the ones that are small, petite, and fine tuning. So, um, it was still good. I ate them, but it's one of those. The battering was really good. Um, the burger was really good. I ended up finishing. I didn't finish the entire plate. I ended up only eating half of it. That's just how I am at restaurants these days. I don't eat all of it these days. I'll eat half of it and then take the other half home. So, but no, it was a really good place. Went out to this bargain market down the street, or actually across town, um, out in not in Alexandria, not Independence, but out in Florence, and then so I had a good time on Saturday. Sunday, got a chance to get it back out to church, and boy, I tell you, I needed it. There's moments where obviously I can't make it to every Sunday. I can't make it to every service. And there's moments where I feel a disconnection. I feel that I'm being separated. And I reached out. I've been feeling this way the last couple weeks, and so I reached out to a friend of mine, and I'm like, man, he's really connected. He went to this, to Bible school and all that stuff. And I asked him, I was like, look, listen, I'm sure this is not uncommon, but I feel this way. And he came back to me. I was like, yeah, man, this is just, the evil doing its work and is thriving off of it. And it is very common. Even himself has admitted to me that he has felt a disconnection from time to time. It happens to everybody, but I hate feeling that way. I really am empowered. I really am faithful for that purpose. And so, when you feel good inside, you feel like you're connected, you almost feel like, faith is speaking right to you. You kind of want to make that continue going in your life. And I gotta say, when it's disconnected or when it's at a distance and you feel lost, it can be challenging at times. So, anyways, had a good conversation with him. We'll continue that this week and get me back on the path that I want to be at. But um, as far as sports wise, listen to a little bit of baseball, kind of balance myself out when it came down to sports this weekend. Watched a little bit of actually tuned back and forth between a movie last night, Shang-Chi, which I love, Marvel movie, and the World's Baseball Classic. So tuned into that and watched the ending of it, and boy, I gotta tell you, um, you know, excuse me, the ABS system is something that probably would have ended up saving last night's game. I don't know who you turn heads towards and pointing fingers at. Very well competitive game. I know a lot of the analysts leading up to the game was predicting it's going to be a high scoring game, but to be honest, it was only 3 runs total, couple all led by home runs, and you had, what was a screwball up on the mound for the Team USA, and he pitched a solid 5. In hindsight, Team USA may have won the game, but to be honest, Team U or you know, Team Dominican Republic should hold their head up high. They had runners in scoring position almost every inning. Like, it was crazy. It had me nail biting that. Oh, here we go. We're gonna give up the run. There's nobody. There's no outs, and there's 2 men on, both in scoring position. We are not just gonna get out of this. They're gonna come back. They're gonna tie it. They're gonna get the lead, and we're not gonna be able to get nothing going. Defensively, it was very well a really good game. If you were in it for the defensive part, and you needed pitchers to pitch out of situations. This was not the most perfect game to witness that. Offensively, you tune in for this first 2 minutes, and you saw those long balls, and then you tune in whenever Dominican Republic was at bat because you knew they were going to get on base, right? So that's what I saw, and that's basically from my point of view. Dominican Republic showed interest or showed a more of a fight, uh, pitch aggressiveness, staying alive, working the counts, and they ended up going in and they held on. They just couldn't get the job done. Um, halfway through the game, Juan Soto from the Dominican Republic got hit in the forearm or in the hand, kind of right underneath on the outside of the wrist. I don't know if hopefully he's okay. There's that padding there, but man, there doesn't seem like there's a lot of protection, and it was in his left hand, and he was able to continue the game. And the bottom half of the next inning, he ends up robbing Aaron Judge from a home run. And it's just moments like those that, although, like I said, Dominican Republic lost and they're going home and players going back to their teams, you have, um, it's you got to be proud of yourself. I mean, they've done such a great job, and they really made Team USA earn it, and it should have been probably the other way around. Now, like I said, the controversy comes over to the final call of the game, um, and it was a call third strike on a ball in down and low. And if the ABS was implied, I don't know, it probably would have been turned over. Otherwise, we are looking at probably a brand new ball game, right? Where Dominican Republic could have walked away. Like I said, probably should have walked away, but um, despite that, Team USA prevailed. Now they await to either face Venezuela or Italy, which will be tonight on USA, or not USA, FS1, excuse me. So tune into that. I mean, I'm sure, here's the thing. Italy beat Team USA back in the pool tournament. There's a very good chance that we could see Team USA take on Italy again in the championships, and I think that would be a blast. Excuse me. My throat's been croaked earlier, with the weather changes up and downs and the breeze. I woke up this morning and my throat isn't always well. I got some pink lemonade I love to drink. So I'm just sipping on that here. But overall, I gotta tell you, we could be facing Italy in a rematch, and Mark DeRosa claims that he's ready to go. That it was an eye opener from the loss that he had last time, and he's not going to make the same mistakes again. Redemption, I see in the future, hopefully. If not, USA makes it, I believe, to its third consecutive um, World Baseball Classic championship. So we'll see what happens tonight. You know, I got to ask, in this situation, is it good having a day off? Getting a chance to sit back and watch who you may be competing against tomorrow night? Or is it a better thing to be competing tonight, win, and have that momentum lead you into the next day? Because, you know, a day off could do wonders for an organization, but yet again, a day off can hurt an organization, right? So, you know, that's, you with Team USA, they're, what it's going to be one way or the other, right? So the winner tonight will go on tomorrow. They'll be at the Lone Depot Park in Miami, and they'll have themselves, and we'll see who's the best of the best here. All right, so today in this hour, we will recap Bearcats baseball weekend as they took on Utah or BYU in a 3-game series. We will talk about the heel turn that we saw on SmackDown this past Friday night from Randy Orton. We'll also preview Raw as Brock Lesnar is scheduled to make his appearance, as well as Roman Reigns. We'll break down and just preview the NCAA men's basketball tournament bracket as the play-ins begin tonight. We'll talk about that. And then we'll get into give you an update of the NFL free agent marker, as well as this week we will be covering the National League and American League Central teams as we have a packed hour. So, all right, Cincinnati Bearcats baseball kind of struggled here over the weekend. They played Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in a 3-game series out in Utah against BYU Cougars. And they end up dropping the series. The first series they dropped of the season. They lost on Thursday with the final score of 5-2. They came back to even the series on Friday with a 9-7 victory. And then they dropped a compelling, competitive 10-9 loss on Saturday. They were off yesterday. They'll stay in Utah because today and tomorrow they'll be taking on Utah Valley. Both games available to watch on ESPN Plus. Tonight's game against Utah Valley will begin at 7:35 p.m. Tomorrow will be a getaway day as the first pitch is scheduled for 1:05. Check all that out on CincinnatiBearcatsBaseball.com for more information there. All right, free agent tracker here. NFL has continued their new season. Every team would talk about any extensions, any trades or deals in that sense. And we're looking at top 100 trackers for updates on trades, biggest moves. Looks like Arizona's been active. It looks like the Falcons have been active. Christian Harris, Deshaun Hand, uh, Channing Tindall. Baltimore Ravens, their biggest transaction so far this offseason is Trey Hendrickson, right? John Simpson is another 3-year, $30 million deal. Jalen Hawkins, 2 years off of $10 million. Javon Gwynn, 1 year. And Duran Smith, terms have not been disclosed. They've also brought back Tyler Huntley. They also brought back Chidobe Awuzie and Dayton Wade. The Bengals, obviously the biggest news coming from the Bengals organization is Boy Mafe, Brian Cook, Jonathan Allen, which is a defensive tackle. And then over the weekend, they signed quarterback John Johnson to a 1-year deal. They retained Dalton Winsler. For the Browns, we saw Zion Johnson, Elgin Jenkins, Quincy Williams on a 2-year deal. Jack Stoll, Kelia Davis, and they brought back Titus Howard. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the Steelers to see how active or productive they have been. It's a long list. All right. They did trade Michael Pittman Jr. to the Colts. Or they traded for Michael Pittman Jr. as a wide receiver. They signed cornerback Jamal Dean, Rico Dordle, Jaquan Brisker, Darnell Savage, Cam Johnston, Sebastian Joseph Day. They also retained Cameron Hayward, Asante Samuel, Cole Holcomb, Izezi Otamoe, Oweo, and Jack Driscoll. All right. So just on a brief analysis from what I can tell here, coming from so far this past weekend, not very big excitement news, right? So far, if this is all we've done, we've picked up 2 defensive linemen. We picked up a safety. Great things that we needed to add to this roster. We picked up a backup quarterback, right? Because we parted ways with Jake Browning. And, we know that if Joe Flacco could get a starting position, we'd want him to get a starting position. But, we would be open to bringing him back if elsewhere. But we're not going to know that anytime soon. I mean, we may not know that up until spring, or not spring, but preseason. I still believe that there's a lot more work free agent status wise that we need to accomplish. And I think that the Bengals need to not be done settling, but it's all going to be what type of contracts they're willing to hand out to these free agents. And they weren't really hiding, all right? They weren't really playing frugal spending when it came down to some of these players already, in Maffei and Cook. But what that tells me is that they're spending a lot up front and now not allowing any wiggle room, because you have to also now include, well, what are you going to spend in the draft? So I don't know. I still think that the Bengals need to go out there and they need to grab at least a player, a linebacker, before going out there and drafting anybody for this team. And then John Johnson, right? A backup quarterback for Joe Burrow. Look, I'm not too worried about a backup position. I hope that whoever we bring someone in the hopes that Joe Burrow is going to be healthy all year, that he's going to be productive all year, right? We will. It's one of those things where I think we'll figure it out when the time comes. We did have a backup quarterback with Jake Browning when went out, and that's fine and dandy. But that didn't work out well. So what was the next move? Well, the next move was going out and picking up a Joe Flacco. Uh, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. All right, let me get over. All right, so NCAA men's basketball. This is something that I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't really gotten myself into until last couple years. I am not good at picking my picks at all, but NCAA basketball has their bracket laid out. Now you have the play-in tournament, which there are 2 games today, 2 games tomorrow, and I'll pull that up for everyone. So let me just pull that up. Excuse me. Gosh, for this cough. Um, no, this has come across CBSSports.com. Breaking news. The Jets are trading quarterback Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs. That just for a first round pick to back up Mahomes. Wow. NFL wise, that is a pretty big deal. I have been a fan of Justin Fields. I feel like he has been undercut with the teams that he's been on this far in his career. Not because these teams are any good or any bad, is because I don't feel like there's right development for him. And so to see this news, to see this team to a team like the Chiefs, I'm like, all right, there's an opportunity there. If there's really any good talent out of Justin Fields, there's not many teams out there that's willing, that are good enough to give him that shot to guide him through that success. Well, the Chiefs are, and you know, Patrick went down. We know. I feel like Patrick Mahomes, he's obviously on the opposite side of his career. I don't know if he's bypassed his prime, but he gotten older. Can't move as well. So maybe, just maybe, this could be a new life for Justin Fields. Talking more about that as the time comes, but we have the play-in tournament for NCAA men's basketball, if I can find it. Not today. It's tomorrow. If I can get to it. Yep. Alrighty. So, let's see how we have here. We have everything's just tournament. Come on, give me names. Alrighty. Tomorrow at 6:40 p.m., both games are going to be on True TV. The UMBC takes on Howard as they're both ranked number 16. At 9:15, we'll have Texas take on NC State. On Thursday, we will have or see PVAM take on Lehigh at 6:40, while at 9:15 we have Miami, Ohio take on SMU. The winners will advance into the NCAA bracket. Now, all right. Let me run you through what the bracket looks like thus far heading into this week. So on the it's the east side, I'm gonna have to blow up my screen. I can't. I am blind, you guys. I gotta tell you. All right. So on the east side, I have Duke and Siena taking each other on. Ohio State taking on TCU. St. John's taking on Northern Illinois, Iowa. Kansas taking on California Baptist. Louisville takes on South Florida. Michigan takes on North Dakota. UCLA takes on UCF. UConn taking on Furman. I was just kind of just messing around. And I was just like, all right, let me fill in what I can fill in. So I'm going to officially give you my brackets that I have coming our way here later this week. I have until Thursday at 12:15. We'll probably have them done on Wednesday. I actually been invited for 2 brackets. One was a good friend of mine, Steve Barber, did the Armchair Booking Wrestling podcast. And then I have a podcast bracket that I want to jump into. I'll be able to jump into. So I so far have Duke, Ohio State. I have St. John's. I have Kansas. I have Louisville. I have Michigan. I'm going to have UCF and then UConn in this bracket. And then just advancing. And then from there, I'd have Duke advance. Then I'd have St. John advance. I've had Louisville advance. And I've had UConn advance. And then I would have UConn taking on Duke. They're both number 1 and number 2 seed. And I think I would have Duke win. All right. So. All right. Down in the South right now, we have Florida, who will be taking on either PVAM or Lehigh. I'd have Florida win. Clemson taking on Iowa. Clemson winning. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have Iowa win. And then Vanderbilt and McNeese. Vanderbilt wins. Nebraska and Troy. Nebraska. North Carolina versus VCU. I currently have North Carolina. Illinois is taking on Penn State. I will have Penn State accomplish that. St. Mary's over Texas A&M. And then Houston over Idaho in that bracket. And then I would have St. Mary win. And then I would have Penn State winning, Vanderbilt winning, and then Florida winning. And then I would have Vanderbilt take on Penn State, and I would have Vanderbilt. Now, this is all just right now me thinking out loud. So I invite you guys to get involved into any of these conversations and let me know just where the shoe fits. Where is that play-in? I don't see the play-in for the East, so we'll have to see here. All right, up there in the West, I have Arizona over LIU. I have Villanova over Utah State. Wisconsin over High Point. I have Arkansas over Hawaii. BYU is either going to take on NC State or Texas. And I could see Texas winning. And then I would have them beat BYU. Gonzaga beating Kennesaw. Miami beating Missouri. Actually, I'll have Missouri win. And Purdue. I'd have Purdue with actual Texas, actually. And then Wisconsin or Arkansas over Villanova. I would have Villanova and let's do Texas. I'm going to say Texas comes out of that. And then I'd have Michigan's either taking on UMBC or Hayward. I can see Michigan winning, Georgia winning, Akron winning, um, Alabama. Tennessee is taking on either Miami, Ohio. I can see Tennessee winning. Virginia taking on Wright State. I have Wright State. Kentucky. And then I do Iowa State. I think Iowa State advances for Tennessee. And then Akron advances to take on Michigan. I think Michigan advances with then Tennessee advancing. And then we do Michigan there. And then I'd have Texas over Michigan. And I think Texas will go over there, advance. And then I would have, where are we at? I would have Duke, Texas and Duke. There you go. All right. That's a long one, but that's just a preview of what I would have early on. Like I said, I'm not submitting any of this. This is just conversational purposes. And I will be doing mine here. I'm going to say probably Wednesday. So, all right. Let's go ahead and continue the conversations here on a Monday afternoon. Let's go ahead and dive into some conversations about WWE Raw. Before I do that, I want to just give a shout out and a big thank you to Riverside.fm. Riverside.fm is, or Riverside.com, so to speak, is the online studio for the TNC Sports Talk when it comes down to our YouTube channel, our live streamings, our podcast. We are broadcasting live from Riverside, thanks on our YouTube page. Hello, everyone. And our Facebook page. How you doing? Riverside.com is something that I picked up earlier this year. It is a competitive market with streaming platforms. It allows you to produce your show just by a few clicks of the buttons. It allows you to have the overlays that you see on the screen, the logo for branding, the background, implications. You could also have text like you've seen here. Coming up, we'll talk about Randy Orton turning heel. You could play your own music, laughing, drum notes, all that fun stuff that you can invest into. And then you could also chat with people on social media. So if you guys want to get a part of the conversation, I encourage you guys to jump onto our chats, let us know what you think, and we'll have that open conversation with you here on our program. Also, this is where you can have multiple guests on your show. You can see it in your right-hand bar. And everything comes separately when it comes down to the bar or to every guest. So everything's recorded separately. So if you want to take an audio from something you played on social media, there, so on and so forth, we could go there. You could also have different layouts. You could write your own script or teleprompter or share your screen to let people know what you guys are screening. This is great for podcasts, talk shows, if you're doing interviews, if you're doing business meetings. Riverside has it all. On top of that, they allow you to edit your videos in pros production that they provide online. So StreamYard, and then on top of that is not StreamYard, it's Riverside, excuse me. That's the old one I had. Riverside also it pulls magic clips for you so that you can they pull out highlighted clips that you may enjoy. So, I mean, it's a multi-purpose tool. We know shorts and short clips are great for a business, for your product. So, and on top of that, like I mentioned, you have, let me just see here. Like I mentioned, you have all these fun other things that is included into it. I'm just checking up on our Facebook page. Here's the one thing, and this is where it gets me. Um, we're on our Facebook page. Let's go here. That needs to be seen. um, let's see. Turn off notification, past live video. All right, let me see if I can get this because I can't. I'm trying to make sure because it's locked on me on a Facebook page. Anyways, I'm gonna try to figure this out as I go. But edit the live video. Well, I am live now, but only I can see it. So you can see it. All right, let me figure that. I'm gonna figure this out. I know I'm just killing time. Um. Okay. But yeah, no one's watching it. Duh. Um. I don't know why. I don't know why it's giving me such a hard time. I'll have to fix it. But anyways, you will be watching it on our YouTube page. But anyways, they also offer a free service. You can check them out by visiting riverside.com for more information. Um, so Riverside, this is not a sponsorship. This is not a promotional ad. This is just me giving thanks to Riverside for providing what they provide. All right, let's dive real quick into the SmackDown turn heel. Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes had the contract signing for the undisputed WWE Championship last week on Friday Night SmackDown. At the end of it, Randy Orton ends up attacking Cody Rhodes, and blood was shed. At the end of the program, Cody Rhodes was laying on top of the steel steps while Randy was in the ring holding the championship around his waist. So last Friday, they clearly identified who was the bad guy and good guy. And they are trying to make you feel sorry for Cody Rhodes. They want you to feel for him. And I just don't understand. For the past 3 years, it was The Rock, it was John Cena, and now it's Randy Orton, who has turned heel, who has turned to this bad guy, and decided to take it out on Cody Rhodes. Now, my only explanation to all of this, what makes sense to me, okay, is Cody Rhodes leaves the WWE. He goes on and has a successful career, puts his name on the map, much more than what the WWE could have ever done at the time, creates this wrestling company, and leaves it to come back to the WWE. And since his return, he's been in the spotlight. He's been up front with everyone. He's been champion after champion. He's been pushed. And so you have guys like The Rock. Though he's gone on to the movie industry, he has not really walked away from the company. So John Cena at the end of his career, he has to change some of his time. And Randy Orton as well. He has been devoted to this company for decades. He didn't leave. He didn't go join another brand. He stays with the WWE. And, the question is, why do we still put this guy, this kid, at the top when he honestly hasn't earned anything. Now, on top of that, you're looking at Randy Orton's, his career path to get another championship. Wanting to break records or set new records, and I think that's fine and dandy and all. I'm not questioning that. But what I just explained would have been the first, in my opinion, the ultimate reasonings behind this. And I'm trying to make this work because I've really clearly seen the reason why you would turn Cody heel. But I feel like turning Cody heel and the reasoning behind that is the same thing that a lot of these wrestlers say when they turn heel. I've done this for the fans, and it kind of images what John said last year. I've done this for the fans. I've thought of the fans. I put my body online for the fans, and this is the thank you that I got. If that same excuse would have worked last year if we turned Cody heel when he won back the WWE Championship. But, we're stuck down here. So the interesting point is you have separated friendship. You've established who we are going to root for and who we are going to boo heading into WrestleMania. And I'm not saying it's a home run. I'm not saying the WWE has hit it out of the park with this, but you have drawn my attention a little bit more than what it was a week ago. So I'll give you a pat on the back here heading into WrestleMania. But something that I just want to remind people, I am not 100% invested in. Has it elevated? Sure. That's really all it does. All right. Raw is tonight. We continue the road to WrestleMania. Begins at 8 p.m. in Seattle, Washington at the Forest Bank Center on Netflix. We are expected to see El Grande Americano versus the OG El Grande Americano. Roman Reigns will appear. Brock Lesnar will appear. The Women's Intercontinental Championship. AJ Lee versus Bayley. Natty versus Maxine Dupree. Stephanie Valkyrie versus Raquel Rodriguez. Dominic Mysterio and the Judgment Day is set to appear. I'm throwing Natty versus Maxine Dupree out the window. I am interested in hearing, Roman Reigns and CM Punk is going to be a back and forth into WrestleMania. I want to know if we're going to get a teaser heading into WrestleMania for who Brock Lesnar is going to face. I'm interested to see if this is going to be a clean AJ Lee versus Bayley or if we see a Becky Lynch return. And then Stephanie Valkyrie versus Raquel Rodriguez. We know that Liv Morgan is going to be challenging Stephanie at WrestleMania, so I can see outside interference and yada, yada, yada. Dominic Mysterio, after the attack on Finn Balor last week with the Judgment Day, how they respond to that as a unit. And, see how storylines are develop heading into WrestleMania. Like I said, hey, 5 matches. I think I see another potential 3 matches on the card. And we're expected to have 14 to 16. We are this week, as a matter of fact, 2 days, 3 days, we are just a month away from WrestleMania. So I'd like to see where we stand when it comes down to that. All right, I want to begin and get into our National League, American League Central teams. We'll start off with the Chicago Cubs heading into this one. One of the big concerns coming off the questions is Seiya Suzuki, who exit Japan's World Baseball Classic quarterfinal after an injury, and we are still pending status on that. The Cubs are halfway through spring training, almost done. One more week left. They lost yesterday to the Dodgers, 14-8. The Guardians, they will take on against Cleveland tonight. You have Horton on the mound for the Cubs, taking on Gavin Williams. for the Guardians, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Um, the roster. Let's fill out the roster for a moment. We'll look at the depth chart here. We got Clay Holmes, Matthew Boyd, Edward Cabrera, Shota Imanaga, Jameis Talion. They have a pretty good depth that is going to separate them among the rest of the teams in the division. When you have collectively enough, when we talk about the Reds' depth, compare that to the Cubs' depth in the rotation. You're not worried about who you throw out there every 5 days. They're not going to all give you great innings, okay? But we've seen Jordan Wicks, we've seen Ben Brown and Justin Steele. Jameis Talion wants to be up there in the major leagues, as well as Shota Imanaga as well, Matthew Boyd. So these are all just tier names that can be a threat to any ball club that year. So when you look at the Cubs organization, you got Carson Kelly, Miguel Amaya doing the catching, Michael Bush, Nico Horner, Alex Bregman, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, which were pending injury. You have Matt Shaw, and then Moses Ballesteros. I see a collective unit that is going to bring up what we want to see for this organization. They're banking on everyone else in the division to make their own mistakes. Milwaukee's traded some players. The Reds are dealing with the Hunter Green injury. Pittsburgh claims they're going to be there, but are they realistically going to be there? And right now they're favored to win the division, and because of the deals that I saw Milwaukee hold last year, it's kind of hard not to go pursue the Brewers as a team to walk away with or the Cubs to a team to walk away with the division. Now, according to Lindsay Sports magazine, who gave a prediction for the Cubs, they predict that the Cubs would actually be a wild card team. I don't know where you guys get that information from. But when I look at the Cubs, I think that they are top of the division. I think that they impose a threat. Sure, they don't have Kyle Tucker. They don't have Justin Tucker. They don't have Drew Pomeranz or Brad Keller. But I feel like they are strong enough, with Phil Maton and, you got Daniel Palencia. I feel like as a unit, they are a strong, strong team. So I got the Cubs winning the division all the way here. Next team on that radar is going to be the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox here. Or did I lose the White Sox? I lost something. The Chicago White Sox. Man, I've always wanted the White Sox to jump up and one ray with something, but it seems like it's another year that it's not going to be anything special. They lost to Kansas City yesterday, 10-4. They'll take on the Texas Rangers on the road tonight in spring training action. They got Burke on the mound for the White Sox, as Mackenzie Gore will be on the mound for the Rangers. And it'll be Sean Burke. And let's just take a look at what that roster currently holds as a depth chart. We're looking at guys like Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Anthony Kay, Sean Burke, Sean Newcomb, all kind of filling in as well. This is a completely opposite tenor than what we've expected from the Cubs in a different, in comparison. Sir Anthony Dominguez is in the bullpen along with Jordan Hicks. They got Mike Vazel as well. Catcher wise is Kyle Tier, Corey Lee. You got Munetaka Murakami as a first base. You got Chase Midroth At second, Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, Andrew Benintendi, Austin Hayes, Brooke Baldwin, and Edgar Guerrero. When I look at this White Sox team, you see potential. You see players that want to go out there and make a name for themselves. You see a team that probably they're going to struggle, but you hope that they really just come ahead um of the season and just do something special, right? So it's going to be a tough division. I don't see anything um going for them, this season. I project that they're going to be at the bottom of this lineup as well. And yeah, that's kind of where I have it. Alrighty, let's move things over to the Cincinnati Reds base. Oh my goodness. Um, Let me try to reload it with the time I have left. Reds, let's see what we had going on here. There we go. Tonight on ESPN on FS1 at 8 p.m. You have Venezuela taking on Italy. The winner will advance to face Team USA tomorrow night. The Reds back on Friday, which we weren't here. They ended up splitting and winning both of their games in the split squad against the Giants. They beat the first game 6-1, and then they shut out the Giants in a 1-0 lead. On Saturday, the Reds took on where are we at? The Reds hosted the Texas Rangers, who had a split squad, but they won 4-3. And in yesterday's showdown, the Reds went up and ended up falling short to the Seattle Mariners 6-3. So not a bad weekend. They will continue spring training action this afternoon. First pitch against the Arizona Diamondbacks is scheduled for 4:10 on the road at the Salt River Fields at Talking Stick in Scottsdale, Arizona. The Reds enter in with a 12-10 record as the D-backs enter in with a 10-12 record. Andrew Abbott's going to be on the mound for the Redlegs as Ryan Nelson is going to be on the mound for the Diamondbacks. And we don't have a lineup yet for this game, but you catch the game out on WSAI in 1360. So, spring training, last week of spring training, the Reds will actually finish their spring training by next Tuesday. I don't think there's anything special about what we can anticipate heading into the last couple of days of spring training. I expect to see more starters out there. And I expect for us to see more, how do I want to put it? More of a regular, every guy playing. Our starters expected to play about every game. Excuse me. The concerns I have, and I'll talk about this in length tomorrow. I'll have to push this back. Don't have enough time on the channel to finish talking about this, but I want to give you some information of what I've taken away from our depth of our rotation. Andrew Abbott's going to be on the mound today. I expect 4, if not 5 innings. He may get one more outing here over the weekend before he starts against the Red Sox. I expect Andrew Abbott going 4, if not 5 innings. Opening day, he needs to go 5, if not 6 innings. And I guess my fear is, if you've seen the outings of these players, I don't tie along to how they are heading into the season. And so we are right now averaging about, I don't know, I'd say 3 2/3 of an inning per play. Rhett Lauder was taken out on Saturday. after going 3 and a third inning. Chase Burns only went 2 innings in this last outing. Brandon Williamson went 4 innings, which I want to see, which is great. But I feel like we're struggling to watch guys like Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder come up, and those are guys that are supposed to be on your back end of your rotation. So if that's the case, and we're seeing shorter outings from those guys, well, then how does a Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, and Andrew Abbott go out? Well, the good news is I feel like Brady Singer and Nick Lodolo is on track. Andrew Abbott only went 3 2/3 last outing, and previous outing he went 2 2/3. I expect him to get another full 2 innings out of it. I'm not worried about the ERA. It's more so, then I can, hey, give up the hits. That's fine. How many runs are you giving up? How many walks are we giving up recording? And compare that to the strikeout ratio. Rhett Lauder gave up 4 walks and 4 strikeouts in his last outing. Brady Singer, 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Brandon Williamson gave up 3 strikeouts in his second previous outing. The problem that I see here is I don't think our rotation's ready. And if our rotation isn't ready, early on, we're going to get eaten alive with our bullpen. On a position side, like I said, heading into this final week, we have a split squad. We have a prospect game later on this week. I'm ready to see these guys in a full game interaction. How does the Reds play? Because momentum is going to be our key, is going to be our friend heading into this season. Because it starts off with the Red Sox, the Pirates come in, and I feel like that week of the Pirates coming into town to begin the season is going to be that true test. I mean, the Pirates were really the most productive team this offseason to collect. I say they were the best team. Maybe the Cubs won with Alex Bregman, but they added some players. So they did more than what I felt that the Reds did, and they moved in the right direction. Seeing that unfold onto the field is the key. This will be our first time seeing the Pirates this year, and you love those battles, right? It starts off winning the games that we need to win. We should be able to beat the Pirates, but it's not that easy on the field. So tomorrow we'll talk about where the Reds lie, not the Bengals, the Reds lie as far as their infields and outfield battles look like and the rotation and whatnot. We'll talk about who's going to be competing in the World Baseball Classic, and we'll move on to the Reds and to the Guardians and our predictions and much more. So we're just kicking off a week. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you're on our social media pages, I will get Facebook fixed, so we are live there. Please like, share, and with a friend. Follow if you have not started following us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and more. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're watching us on our YouTube page. Please also follow us and take us on the road wherever you go by listening to us downloading us on our audio apps. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, wherever you get a podcast need at. Check us out, and we will be there. That is all the time we have for you guys today. I want to thank you for everyone for tuning in. And until tomorrow, you guys stay warm, stay dry, stay definitely warm, especially while the weather's coming through. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.